Welcome to the Outside the Business Boxes podcast, where we're talking about how to ignite your business today for the future using systems for everything you do in your business to make your life, your employees' lives, and your customers' lives easier for you to ultimately enjoy your business and, of course, make more money. I'm your host, Chad Murray. Thank you for coming outside the business box. I am Chad Murray, your host, and today I have a very special guest, Octavio de la Vega. He is one of my clients. Is that okay to say,
Yes.
Octavio? Okay.
Yes,
Sometimes
absolutely.
I never covered that in the pre warm up to talk a little bit, but he is one of my clients. But I mean, that's not really why I have him on here. Since I've gotten to know him, he's got a great story. He's got a really good up and coming masonry chimney business. He's doing a lot of stuff right. And he's doing some stuff. I gotta be honest with you that I don't even know if I have the balls to do. So we had an experience last week that Octavio got into, and we're going to discuss this here later. Hard decisions that us business guys are afraid to do that he is not. So, hey, Octavio.
Hi, how you doing, Chad?
Good. So here, I wanted, some people know who you are, but maybe not a lot of people. And I know maybe this podcast isn't the one to springboard to get everybody to know who you are, but I enjoy talking to you, and I learn from you as well. But tell us a little bit about your story, where you come from, and how you got to where you are today.
Well, it'll take me back to 1997. I was born in Mexico City. Growing up, I didn't have a really stable home. We we moved a lot. And, we ended up going to a different state. And at this point, I'm 16, and, my my life at home wasn't, too stable. I had a good, life and everything. It's just, I wanted to seek some, better opportunities. And, my brother-in-law was actually out here in the United States. And I was going to high school, and, I ended up just making a decision to come out to the United States. So.
By yourself?
No, I came with my dad.
Okay.
Came with my dad. And, although we try to look for ways to come in, the right way. They were just very, very, elaborate and very, very difficult to get into a process to come, and make it happen. It is possible, but it's it can be really hard.
Right.
Which, at that time, being 16, I didn't really see the severity of how hard it would be to come to the United States. And well, I'll tell you what, I'm glad I did. Because coming out here just completely shaped who I am. I definitely consider myself more American than Mexican. I grew up here. So once we made it here, it was one of those things for me. It was more, as soon as we got here, within a couple of days, I was already working. Whatever we could find, it was just my brother-in-law getting me a job, and I did. So I was doing landscaping, and I did that for a while until after a year of being here, I decided to move out. I wanted to try things out for myself, and that's the way it's been, ever since I can remember. So I was 18. I was, living on my own, and a different country. I didn't even speak English. I was quick to learn, though. Within the year of being here, I learned how to, speak English and be able to communicate. So that was huge for me, being able to communicate. And I knew, from, even back then that, when I talked to anyone, I knew I was going to be my own boss. I wanted to give it a shot. I wanted the American dream, and I wasn't going to settle for less. I started doing, various jobs, and then going back to my brother-in-law again. He was by this point at 18, he was a bricklayer, so he got me into the company where he was working, and they gave me the job, and at first it was just as a helper, then union. I became union member, and worked there for a few years. I learned a ton. I fell in love with what I do. Love, doing bricklaying, and it wasn't easy, right? For me, it was challenging because, back then I only had, a couple of my family members that were here. My sister and my dad, and that's it, so it was hard getting used to, being here by yourself. But, one of the things that, was very attractive to me was that, that anyone can start a job, right? A company. So I had a dream, and that's what I wanted to do. Although it wasn't the time for me to do it yet, I was already planning for it. So, by the time,
let me get this straight. You're in the union at what, 19, 20?
18.
Really 18? That very first, the landscaping to the union was within the same year.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you're a bricklayer for the union. You got the dream of starting your own business, and then we move on to you eventually do.
So I kind of stumbled. This is when things started to get a little tough with new construction, and work started to get a little too, it wasn't consistent. So I went and talked to my, to the BA, in the union. They were like, no, we can't get you any work right now. So things were tough. So I decided to go, a different route, and ended up finding a fireplace and chimney company that, wanted to hire me. I had a couple of things going for me. I was a bricklayer, and one thing that I've always had is I like to work. I'm stubborn. I'm determined to do whatever it takes. So those were my two things that I could bring, to the table, and they hired me. They gave me the opportunity, and I'm very thankful for that. So, I've probably had about a month that I didn't work because I had a hernia so that I needed to get fixed. So I figured, okay, I'm transitioning jobs. I'm going to be off for a month. So during that time, that's actually the only time that I've been without a job since I came to the United States.
Wow.
So it was a month. I felt like an eternity, but I was ready to get back. So I got hired by the chimney company, and like I said, I was blessed because they taught me a lot. I never, even dreamed of being able to do everything this fireplace, company did. But talking, having a conversation with my boss, he mentioned, hey, you would be golden if you could learn everything that we do as far as fireplaces, chimneys, with your masonry skills. It's just the it's the whole package. So that kind of stuck with me. And I knew that, I wanted to be that whole package. So I went for it. Like I said, I got lucky and was able to have guys that were willing to teach me. And soon after, I started with that company, I became a pretty good installer, for, doing fireplaces, gas fireplaces, stoves, and pretty much anything, you name it.
Right.
So I met my wife, and at the time, we were both. I was living in Illinois, and she lived in Chicago, and pretty young. And then we, a few years, 2-3 years later, we had our first born. So it was time to, settle down and find a place where we could call home for our kid. So, but we needed help. We both had a full-time job, and we couldn't stay home and take care of our kids. So we decided to move back to Indiana. That's where my wife is from. So we moved back here to Valparaiso, Indiana, and I still work for the chimney company, back in Illinois, but it was just it was too much. It was, I probably spent like 3 hours, driving to and from daily, and this is after, getting off work late, and, so it wasn't working out.
Right.
Although I wanted to stay because it was a really good company. I mean, I would still be working for them had I not moved. But it was kind of a good thing because it pushed me to, seek something else. So I did try to get a job when I moved out here to Valparaiso, and nothing really stood out. Like nothing really got my attention to say, this is what I want to do. Actually, let me take that back. I got hired by a company in town, and, I showed up on Monday, and although I was already hired, the guy said that I knew too much. They wouldn't, they don't want to hire me because they didn't know that they could afford me. I could not understand that. Yeah. So I think that was the turning point for me. I didn't enjoy that. I didn't like it at all. So I said to myself, now it's the time for me to go on my own and make this happen. And that was actually one of the things that I promised myself, that I was never going to do that to anyone. So once I did, it was all or nothing. I started, by myself with one of my pickup trucks that I owned. It wasn't even lettered or anything.
When was this? What year was this?
2012.
Okay.
So it was a rough start. I don't know. You think that, I guess everyone's got a similar situation, but when I got started, I figured it'd be a lot easier for me to get the work. And I'm blessed to say that I never struggled with bringing income, but it's definitely a lot of work. I was also a technician, and I had no clue as to everything that entail to own your own business. So the business end of it was the toughest thing for me. Right. Work-wise, I've never struggled with that. I if I had to work 14, 15 hours a day, I would do it. That's just what I did. And I'm also blessed to say that my wife was very supportive. Although we had a little girl, and we at that time we already had our second daughter. She was a year old when I started the business. That was kind of nerve-wracking. But she always stood by me and said, hey, she made me a deal. As long as you can always afford the mortgage, I'm good.
It's funny when people start businesses. It's like sometimes they have no plan, but they're the technician and they know how to go get work. And I mean, there's really two models. Is the wife involved or not? See, my model is my wife was 100% involved. So we literally we were together or nothing. And not that you weren't either, but she had another job outside the business, right? So she was able to bring in at least some money if you flopped for a day or a week or whatever, which is funny. I never flopped, not one day, and I bet you didn't either. I mean, there was never a day I didn't. I mean, I've never had problems bringing in a client and turning him into a cash and a job. I've never had that problem. Now, I've had problems with doing it after I left and stuff like that to build the business and to really get things going. But the starting of the business, which is tough and difficult as it is, and like you, I never had a problem with, like if she said you got to pay the mortgage, you probably never had a problem doing that.
No.
Not in the chimney business. I mean, maybe other business, but our business, we could always go find that 2 or 3 clients a week that
Yeah.
can pay the bills and the gas, right? You know, and maybe a little bit of advertising budget you may have or whatever, you know. And so,
I mean, and you know, just kind of going back to the beginning of my, you know, me telling you my story, I guess I skipped a really important part of it. I actually got kidnapped when I was in the border,
oh wow,
crossing the border. We got
on your
kidnapped.
initial coming in,
Yes.
okay,
And the reason why I'm going back to this is because, you know, okay, so being 16 and going through this kind of stuff, I, well, I never, you know, even thought I was going to be, you know, involved in anything like that.
right,
So we did get kidnapped for 2 days. And, you know, I take it back to that because I was able to overcome, you know, my dad was a really, like, just a calm person. He didn't do much. And me, I'm the black sheep of the family. So I wasn't going to take it. You know, I was like, I'm not going to stay here. So I started just, you know, talking to everyone because there were more people there, right? So they had us in this home in Arizona. They left us for 2.5 days with no food, nothing, you know, no water, nothing. It was just an empty home. Um, and you know, this guy came up and he said, you know, we're gonna take everything from you. You know, everything you have, we're gonna take. If you don't give it to us, we're, you know, I don't know what they were gonna do.
right.
But you know, we are, you know, everyone said no, we're not gonna give you anything. So this guy, he's like, oh well, I'll be right back. So he comes back, and they started nailing, you know, 2x4s to block every window and every door in the home. So once we saw that, you know, we knew it was time to get out of there. And I guess the reason why I'm going back to this is because after being through that, it was for me, everything else is pretty much just a walk in the park. Because being 16 and being able to you know, live through that, that was pretty, you know, being 16 and you know, I remember being at that time, I was just, I didn't know what to do. And so all you had to do is, you know, gather yourself and you know, just, I guess, reach deep enough and just, you know, get the strength and you know, to be able to get out of there. I was thinking more about my mom and my dad. So that was my push. So for me to start my own business, you know, and yeah, there were going to be challenges, but there was no way there was going to be anything worse than that, you
Well,
know.
you're leaving us hanging. How'd you get out? Did you guys just
Um,
fall down and leave, or what?
I went. It's funny, right? Because here's the 16-year-old kid, you know, like watching everyone, you know, out the window, and this guy. Once they boarded everything up, they nailed those 2x4s on the wall, you know, on those windows and wall doors. They went back to what it appeared to be like a mechanic shop, and they were getting, like, you know, big tools and hammers, and they were getting ready to come and probably, you know, do
Torture.
some bad stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we were like, I was like, we have to go. We're not going to stay here and just wait for, you know, these guys to come and do whatever they're going to do. So we then decided between like 2 or 3 guys that were there with me that we were going to knock the doors down. So we did. We started just, you know, kicking the door down, and we did. And I mean, everyone just ran out of there.
Just got out.
Got out.
Yeah.
You know, we got out, and about a block and a half down the street, we got pulled over and got sent back to Mexico. And then, well, the story goes on. You know, we actually tried for another couple of weeks, and then we got lucky and made it in. So
Okay. So now we go. So I mean, obviously, I mean, one thing it's a driving force in your life to think back to that. Obviously, you know, it is kind of funny. We even when you start a business in America, and it is tough. Don't get me wrong. I don't care if you're from Mexico or from America.
mhm.
It's still tough. But a lot of people they give up. I mean, and anyone listening to this podcast has not given up. So really, I mean, I gotta say, congratulations to everybody listening, because you have your own story of what pushed you through. I call Octavio O. So O pushed through and has this little thing. So anyway, you got your business, you've got two daughters, you've got a truck. It's not lettered up. That's in 2012. What happens now?
Well, for the first 6 months of my, the business opening up, my brother, who is already, here in the United States now and everything, he's also a Mason, came in to work with me. And that's when I learned that, partnerships don't work.
Yeah.
I guess for me.
Right.
It didn't work out. My brother and I ended up, splitting up, going our own ways, which, by the way, it worked out amazing, for him. He's doing really well. He owns his own business as well. Very successful. And I'm kind of glad I figured that out with, my brother right away, because that was when I said, okay, no more partnerships. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it on my own, but we're going to find the right people. And, and that's it, that for me, the key has been, finding the right team. It's been a ride. It's been quite a ride. I've, found many obstacles just like anybody else. But my first year was, pretty good. I did about $125,000. For me, that was mind blowing.
Right.
I was scared to spend, $300 in a local, magazine ad, which I did, and I mean, I couldn't sleep. I even told my wife, I don't know if I can make that money back. Well, obviously, I had no experience, right? A week later, I was getting my first call, and I made $1,200 the first job I got from that ad. So it paid for itself and then some.
Right.
That's when I knew that advertising was really important. So it kind of just removed the cap on that, and I ended up, doing a lot more magazines. I hired my first technician soon after my brother left. So this guy stayed with me for about 4 years. He's no longer with me, but he was a huge help. I mean, he helped me hire other guys, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't figure things out until probably about 2014, 15. Well, I should also mention.
When did you go see Stoner? When did you go see Stoner? Didn't you go to his place?
Well, here's my thing. So the interesting part about this is that I started my business while I was still illegal.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Even my wife said, because we were in the process of me getting my my green card and my residency. She was against me opening my own business, and I did it while I was still legal, and it was hard. I couldn't really travel. I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do as far as education, because I was aware of it. But once I did it, that was a special day. Obviously, back in 2014, that's when I got everything fixed. My situation was now legal, so I was like, okay, let's get to work. So I get my residency, and the first thing I do is I start researching where do I go, what do I need to do, and that's when I found out about the CSIA, and I started reading up about it, and I said I need to be there. And it's funny, it's something I tell Mark Stoner, but I knew all about Mark Stoner. So by the time I made it to the convention, I said, I'm going to meet him, because I knew that he would help, other business owners. So I ended up being introduced by someone else, introduced me to Mark, and we met. And I told him that I was very interested in what he was doing, and asked him for help. And as always, Mark, came through.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was just probably, this is the way I feel about that kind of stuff. I felt like I was a little unknowing because I would message him, via Messenger and Facebook, and I was just telling him I was having a tough time because, to be honest with you, all the systems, all the new, stuff that you can do to grow a business, I didn't know. All I knew how to do was, build a good chimney, install a nice, good fireplace, but I couldn't grow the business by myself. I don't feel I could have been able to.
Right.
So Mark actually invited me over to go to Tennessee, and I did. So I spent 2.5 days out there, and he showed me how he ran everything. That was the turning point. I mean, exactly when that happened, I came back and things started just happening. It's amazing how, when I was out there with Mark, I remember getting a phone call, and it was my only one technician calling me because he was doing, a job, but it was actually, me checking on him. I had called him earlier, and Mark's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, my guy's doing a job." He goes, "Okay, let's do something. You trust him?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "Don't call him at all.
Right.
Just let him do his thing, and then you'll find out."
Right.
And he goes, "Trust me on this." So at the end of the day, I get a phone call from my customer, and he goes, "Hey, I just wanted to give you a call because that guy that came out to fix the fireplace and the chimney was amazing. I just wanted to congratulate you, and you guys are doing things right." So it opened my eyes.
Right.
You have to let go. You have to trust. And if you don't do that, I mean, it's a mistake that most new business owners do make. And you have to be able to trust. You have to let them make mistakes so that they can learn, just like we have.
Right. So let's so Mark gives you a blueprint. You start building your business. Okay?
Right.
And so up until 2021, what did you build it up to? Because I want to get to the meat of why we spent about your story. So I want to get to the meat, what I really want to talk about here that happened in the last month. So how many trucks did you build up to that Mark helped you out with the business plan and everything?
So I only had one van when I came out to see when I went out to see Mark, and he gave me a plan. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't the best, at practicing what he gave me. I'm pretty stubborn, so, but I still, I follow a lot of the stuff that he told me to do, and that's where I don't know. I always talk about my Frankenstein, like. I've put together, this business that I call Frankenstein because it's got, the arm is, the brain is from like Mark Stoner's, points of views and SOPs, and I listen to different podcasts. I listen to your podcast, so that could be the arms, and so altogether, I built this business that I don't think it's perfect, but it's mine, and so then. I purchased a couple more vans. For the longest time, I couldn't go past that, right? One of my biggest issues were, my hiring techniques, and I've gotten much better. You've helped me with that, much better on that. So if we fast forward to last year, right before COVID, we had a pretty good team. We were running 3-4 trucks. No, we were running 3 trucks right before COVID, and right now we're running 6 trucks.
Right.
I'm actually purchasing 2 more. So COVID actually, happened to us, and we doubled our business.
Right.
We doubled our business. That's when I made the decision to call you, because business was growing super fast. And I just felt like I was just hanging on to it, for dear life, because it was going so fast, and I didn't know what to do, when to stop, should I stop? Should I keep going? So, so I called you, and something I didn't mention is, I was talking to one of my technicians, and I wanted to mention it to you today. Was he asked me how things were with my coach, because I tell everyone that I have coach, chat, and he goes, "Hey, by the way, I wanted to tell you that everyone has noticed ever since you started talking to Chat, we have seen a difference." So that was really, really cool, and not that I had any doubts, but I mean, it came from them, and it makes me feel proud of being able to reach out and just get help. That's to me what's been the key element for growth.
I might snapshot that. That was the sweetest thing you ever said to me, and I'm glad it came from them because, you hear me and all the other coaches and everyone out there, consultants, talk about that. That's so true. Until you experience what you just said, you just don't. I guess you don't get it. You just have to take the leap of faith of when you do get a mentor, coach, consultant helping you, the right person. It is starting to feel like stars. There is no limit, right? You kind of start to feel like Superman. You're gonna make mistakes constantly, but you're gonna do some really cool things. So I'm gonna get into what's happened to Octavio here in the last couple of weeks, and it's something that I gotta admit, I don't know if I've got the gumption to do what he did, and we've been talking about it. I've luckily never been in this exact scenario that he was in a couple weeks ago, and what it boils down to is Octavio has been working with me now for some time, and we've set some SOPs, but we've set some accountability boundaries, and he has. And he's had some issues, in the past with some things. So he set these boundaries, and go ahead and tell him what you did. I mean, just talk about your boundaries and tell him what you did. Because, I mean, to me, it inspired me because I don't know if I could do it.
Well, so I don't know if this is new or not, if anyone else does it. One of the things that I can tell you is from, when I was, a technician, or when I was a bricklayer, I was trained with a crew that kept you really accountable. My background is, you either show up or go home. That's what I the way that that upbringing was actually one of the main reasons why just sitting there. And I guess what you're talking about, Chad, is people not showing up on time, just the morale, like the culture in the company was actually just dropping, by the minute. It was just, I didn't feel comfortable, I just felt like everyone just showed up because they had to, and one thing that we had to do, I had a meeting with everyone, and we had to talk about it. I was very upfront with it, every single one in our team. We now have a lot more technicians. So, we're about, I think we're 16, counting our, office staff.
Yep.
I talked to him about, showing up on time and how we weren't going to take it anymore. Right. I used to have people showing up 25 minutes late, and we were okay with that. So we laid down the new rules, and if you're late 1 minute, we're going to send you home. And it just so happened to be that, it was two of our crew leaders, and we had job scheduled for that day. This is after we had the meeting 2 days after. And sure enough, the two guys that were always late showed up 4 minutes late. Yeah. And, they walked in, they didn't think they were going to, get sent home. And, but to be honest with you, I sat in my office and I was talking to my manager, and I said, "What are we doing?" And he goes, it needs to happen. I said, well, bring him into the office. And
Everybody, you need to understand this. This was like within the last couple of weeks. So this is booming busy, you know, and so I just want to set the scene. This wasn't in July. This was like holy shit, we're busier than hell right now. Oh, me and my general manager now talking about sending our two biggest crew, number 1 and 2 crews, home for the day.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. And especially because we had 2 jobs that were supposed to finish up that day that were huge for us, right? Because they had been doing, working on those 2 jobs for like the past week. So we needed those jobs done. But I guess one of the things that, has, changed for us was, the fact that we have a bigger crew, and it was now make it happen now or never. So we brought him into the office and basically told him, you were late. And their response was, yeah, 4 minutes. So like, it's kind of like saying, so what?
Yep.
Well, so we said, we know the rules and you're going home. And we sent them home for 2 days, each one of them. So believe me, it was tough.
Exactly. That's why I said I don't know if I could do it. I mean, unfortunately, haven't been in like that. I haven't been tested to me like that. Maybe my management has, but I never have. Because if I ever did, it would have been a firing, and then I would have jumped in the truck. But that was way back then, not at the company size now. And so what happened? What did they do?
They were totally fine with it. I mean, not going home, I guess. Sorry. Not going home. They didn't like it. But this happened on a Thursday, so they were home. They were sent home Thursday and Friday. So they were probably expecting to be off on Saturday, but our manager made sure to call them, and they fought it a little bit, saying, "Why are we coming in on Saturday?" Because you were late and you were sent home, so you now got to go back and finish up those jobs. So they came in on a Saturday on time, and so did everybody else. And since that meeting, we haven't had anyone show up late. Everyone. And one of the things that I actually heard from my my field manager was that a couple of the guys came to us and said, "Hey, thank you for doing this. It actually is changing the morale, all over, like all across the company, and everyone's loving it." I mean, it showed me that sometimes what you have to fix is not so much the guys or the outside the field. Is just what you where you're expecting from them, and being clear about it. So,
well, I mean, you're building a culture. I mean, like, of this is who we are, and you're either with us or you're not.
right.
And it's harder to deal with the old dogs than it is the new meat coming in, right? Puppies are easy to train. The old dogs are like, well, we're already doing this. I mean, we have the same scenario with us, with our ladder our safety training.
Mm-hmm.
And so it got to a point where just a couple, and I may have podcasted on this or not, but a couple of weeks back, I made a video. I mean, I'm still recovering from COVID, so I'm not going down there as much as I should. But I made a video, and I was really straightforward to them. I had to take a post off of Facebook, and I sent out the video to everybody on a Sunday night. And my lead technician, who I personally hired, I don't know, 12 years ago, whatever, however long ago, he's been one of the people that has not been harnessing up as much. He said, we told John the next morning, my general manager, I didn't sleep last night because I know what Chad, it came from my heart. I didn't yell. And he goes, I'm one of these guys. I'm exactly the problem. And he knew it. Right. And so John came to the cabin just this past weekend, and we were talking Friday night, and he's like, we don't have any problems with people wearing the harnesses anymore because of my one video. And so because I called them out, I just said, listen, and I said, we have a culture moving forward. You're either part of it or you're not. And when we catch you, it's going to be not. There is no warnings. I was very clear in my video. There's no warnings. You know, when we find out that you're not doing your job or being safety conscious to what we've asked, you know, you're going to be let go. And they know coming from me, it's real. So, you know, so it happens. So, I mean, putting your foot down, I mean, really the whole point of this entire podcast was everybody got to know a little bit here. Great. Good company, you know, but he puts his foot down and he's showing, and his company is falling in line to what he wants it to be, not what they want it to be. Right?
Exactly. And I guess what I take away from that is, you know, sometimes you think you're going to be, you know, doing harm, you know, because that was my fear. We're in the middle of a busy season. What if I lose two of these guys? You know, and they were actually, they're you know, two of the guys that have been with me the longest, right? Yeah. So, and they're really good. Now, what do you do if you lose both of them? I guess if you ever, I'm not saying that that's what you should do, but if you think about it, and that's something that you want to maybe, you know, try, be prepared. Because you know, chat, I told you, you know, my plan was to, although, you know, that's been my battle, you know, trying to keep me off the field. If I had to, I had a plan B, and I guess, you know, I was part of that plan B. I was going to be going back out to the field and, you know, taking care of those jobs, those, you know, customers that needed us to complete the you know, their work. And, you know, you can't, I guess my thing is, just because I did it, I don't know that everyone can be in the same spot and do the same thing. But if done properly, I think, you know, everyone could benefit from that.
I think everybody can do it, but you're hitting out. You have to be prepared to do it.
Exactly.
You know? I mean, it's like I've told the story a million times in my company, but when I used to say, and John used to say, the first couple of years that I left operations was, everybody's replaceable here. Chad replaced himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so if you don't think you're not replaceable, the owner isn't even here anymore. He replaced himself in operations. So if you don't think you'll be replaced, you could be replaced. And I actually probably need to bring that back to the company a little bit. Right now we're smoothing and doing well, but I mean, people need to be reminded that you're not bigger than the culture of the company. And when you think you are, it's time to leave unless you personally have an attitude adjustment, which is rare. Typically, when they get the feeling like that, it's time to, you know, to move on. But you know, there are some instances, but really, I mean, everybody, I wanted you to kind of hear from Octavio that it really is that time during the busy season, our fall season, that it's not to skate and do it. I mean, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because right now, I hope that my team, if found out that one of our guys isn't harnessing up, would they fire him?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because right now there's no warnings and there's no warning shots. We've already shot the warning shot over the bow. So are they strong enough to do it? You know, and time will tell. You know, and so, but I know you are. So I wanted everybody to get a little, you know, a little bit of inspiration from you that right in the middle of October, late October, when you were booked out 6 weeks or more, or months actually, you flat out took your two big crew members that are doing all the big money and sent their asses home for 2 days.
And actually, one of the guys after he came back said, you know, he wanted to apologize, you know, for not showing up on time. Well, he mentioned you know, something else, you know, that kind of an excuse why he was late. But, you know, that's besides, you know, that actually what he said, that, you know, he was actually glad that it happened with them. Because now the newer guys can see that no one's sacred, right? No one's my favorite or our favorite. So if it happened to them, it can happen to anyone. And that's the kind of attitude that you want.
no one's impervious to the being to any rule that you have. The rule applies to all of us.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, that's the thing. I think that's hard. That's hard for a lot of business owners because they end up relying on their people. But there's that certain point where if you don't do it, you're going to end up being run by your company and not you running your company. It happens to everybody. I mean, Stoner's got his famous story. Um, I mean, I don't really have that story, but I'm not going to lie. I have absolutely been run by my company before. I mean, I never had that dramatic fire everybody except for when I found out about my sales team, and that was a totally kind of a different scenario. But I mean, I think a lot of business owners hear about this all the time, and they hear these stories. They hear the reason why I really want to have you on here is because it's another story. It's a real story that there'll be people that are listening to this going, this is happening to me right now. And I don't have I really don't have it in me to do it right now. And it's like, what we're telling you is, well, if you don't make a plan and do it and do it, I've got another client of mine that when I first started, it was him and one other truck. I've told this a little bit, but I'll elaborate. And in the first meeting, I had to tell him up front, and I've never done this before, nor have I since. I told him he had to fire that guy. He had to fire his one employee, and,
Wow.
and he was shocked. And I said, listen, if you don't fire him and start over, I mean, then let's not coach because this isn't going to work. Because this guy's just sucking you dry on everything from culture, doing bad jobs, stealing from you probably, which we found out he was, all that kind of stuff. And he did. He literally that morning fired him, and within a week, hired 2 or 3 people. And this was, I think he started with me like maybe in June, and it's only November. He's now got like 8 people working for him.
Awesome.
And so, I mean, not just because of me, but I mean, he, like you, are great students of what you should do. We talk. I mean, you don't always listen to everything exactly I say, but you do. We talk about stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then you do your own thing and how it works out, which is a version of whatever we talked about. And so, I mean, that's just one more thing about everyone to let them know, like, what are you are doing to talk to people to get through these scenarios to help you out, make the right decision. So, anyway,
I
go ahead.
guess one of the biggest things that I've learned since calling you for the first time is you're always I used to think this way, right? I'm oh man, that it always seems like a lot of money to pay someone to hire him to be your coach, your mentor, but in reality, you're wasting more money by not knowing some of the things that you then can learn when you talk to someone like yourself. And for me, I guess the reason why my guys told me that they've been able to see it is, I guess, decision making. Just not dwelling on things that you shouldn't be so worried about, right? Okay,
Right.
so this happened. Okay, move forward, and all you got to do is just keep going. And now that you've learned from it, okay, there's another SOP, and on to the next thing. And for us, thank you, because since I started working with you, I've seen growth. Not only I don't think that more vans means more growth. I think that internally we have grown tremendously, and that only gives you the foundation to be able to grow now, with bigger numbers and people that you bring in, and then more trucks.
Well,
And
it's a result of you growing and learning. I mean, and so it's not for everybody. But the funny thing is, I could take someone on that if willing said he didn't want to grow, and he would grow, because
right,
it's just inevitable to happen when you start getting everything in line. Your employees see it, your customers see it, you see it, your family sees it, and it just starts to happen. It's like having a baby and it starts to grow, but when does it actually reach maturity? It never does. You get to a maturity level of your business, but even people that are $10 million companies, what are they trying to do? They're trying to get to 50 million, right?
Mhm.
They're still babies. They grow up to a certain point, then they become a baby again. It's all this. It's just kind of the cycle. One of the things I like to say or think about is you're like always in a circle, it seems like, until you finally break that circle to go in a straight line, until you come to another place where you're circling again, and then
Definitely.
you get, and then that's kind of what seems to happen to people when they start actually working inside their business versus outside of it. And so anyway, this is we've had a good time today, Octavio, so thank you. What's the name of your business again for everybody, to tell everybody?
Northwest Fireplace and Chimney,
Right, and it's in Indiana, and so
Valparaiso, Indiana. Yeah,
right,
just
so
about 45 minutes away from the border of Chicago.
gotcha. So anyway, that's our time. I just wanted you to meet Octavio and see the remarkable thing he did and held his accountability, and I think it's something for us all to learn.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Chad.